So, there's been a lot of discussion recently about Itto events, especially after the 4.6 livestream and the official announcement of the Arataki Rock and Roll event. Some people are happy to see him again, some are getting tired of him, and some are so mad about it that they're actively attacking Itto fans and saying insanely vitriolic things about him. Aside from the third group who desperately need to chill out, I honestly get where everyone's coming from. So today I just want to do a quick discussion video to share my opinions since I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Before we start though, quick update about WonderCon since I said I'd be attending that in my last video. It went really well! My Navia cosplay turned out nice and I got tons of compliments and pictures, and the keychain giveaways went really well. I also got to attend panels about character design and storytelling in Black communities, and which I'm really glad about. But of course it can't be a cosplay day without my government assigned minor inconveniences. Like I said before, my glasses frames look very similar to Navia's and the lenses are photochromic. And I forgot to specify, but that means that the lenses darken when they're exposed to sunlight. I was really hoping it'd be a sunny day so I could get the sunglasses effect, but no, of course not. It was instead cloudy and drizzly most of the day, so good thing the cosplay came with its own umbrella. Also, the stockings of this cosplay are held up by Velcro and I had to use extenders since they didn't fit otherwise. And oh my god, they would not stop falling down. Literally, there were moments where I could barely walk 5 steps without needing to stop and adjust them again, and it was actually infuriating. I wouldn't be surprised if there was at least one person at the con who saw me enough times to notice how often I fought with those stockings. Anyways, back to the main point of this video. Now, I'm an Itto fan myself. He's a super fun and lively character with a lot of chemistry with basically everyone he interacts with, and I distinctly remember how much I laughed the first time I heard his voice lines. It's understandable why he's so popular, why Hoyoverse likes including him in events, and why some people don't mind his frequent appearances. But to me, it's also very understandable why some people are complaining. We all know the saying, too much of a good thing, and I feel like that perfectly fits the situation with Itto. He's a lot of fun, sure, but there's only so many times you can put him in events, especially ones where he's more or less doing the same things, before it gets a little repetitive. Not that Hoyoverse is a stranger to making their characters a little gimmicky and downplaying their complexity. This is gonna sound weird, but honestly it saddened me how during Itto's part of the 4.4 cooking event, I didn't laugh at his lines as much as I usually do. It's not that they weren't funny, I was just kind of tired, you know? Like, yeah, he's here, he's loud and silly, he said the word compadre more times in this conversation than in all his other appearances combined. What else is new? Now, of course, I'm not gonna pretend like Itto's the only character who's been in a lot of events. I mean, he's been in the most so far, but there's still a handful of characters right behind him. I feel like the reason why his case is more noticeable and widely criticized is because of 2 reasons. The first is how consistently he's in events. Again, he's not the only character who's been in a lot of them, but you'd be hard-pressed to think of any other characters, besides Traveler and Paimon of course, who've been in limited time events 4 patches in a row on top of the abundance of other ones they've already been in. The second reason, which is something that actually annoys me, is the fact that Itto's constant appearances exist alongside Hoyoverse's strange habits of not including certain characters in events or quests that suit them perfectly, or simply not doing anything with them for several patches in a row. Here's an example, Heizo. Prior to the reveal that he's going to be in the 4.6 event, or at least we think he's gonna be because he's right there on the poster, his last event was at Kitsu Kimurameshi back in 3.3, so roughly a year and 4 months prior. You can imagine how much I and many other people on my Twitter feed were celebrating his return. Also, he's a detective. You would think Hoyoverse would find a way to involve him in an event all about a detective film, right? In fact, you would also hope that he and or Yanfei, a lawyer, would have some sort of quest where they solve a case in Fontaine, the region all about justice, right? Right? I've seen people suggest an Ace Attorney themed event with them and I want that so bad. But realistically, I can excuse them not going to Fontaine yet. But what really pisses me off is this next example. We all know my girl Xinyan, the person literally being drawn in a speed paint. And we all know how rock and roll is her main motif, and an extremely important part of her character. Now you would think that when there's a rock and roll event, especially one about a tour she's played in before, in a region that she's been to before, that Xinyan would be in it, right? Well, my dear viewers, she isn't! Because why would she be? That would just make too much sense. If you want a guitarist for this event, then lucky you get NPC number 249. Isn't that just so f***ing great? I know not to get my hopes up with Hoyoverse, but I've been allowing myself just a little bit of copium by saying, hey, there's still a chance of Shinya making a surprise cameo. But even if by some miracle she does, the fact alone that she isn't front and center of the promo art alongside Itto annoys me more every time I think about it. And yeah, I say alongside Itto instead of, because I've noticed people tend to act like Itto's stealing spots from other characters whenever he's in events. And like, I see how it can feel that way, but no. It's not like he's the one keeping Shinyan locked up in Hoyoverse's basements. They both could have easily been there. The reason why she isn't there is because I swear to God, Hoyoverse sometimes act like they have tumbleweeds for brains. Anyways, those are far from the only cases. Kazuha wasn't in the poetry event, Chongyu wasn't in Shenhe's debut quest, Bennett wasn't in the Bennett event, Fischl has been missing in action since 3.3, etc, etc. And like, I get it. Genshin has a ton of characters. Arlecchino's about to be the 80th, which is crazy. I understand how it can be difficult to give all those characters consistent appearances, but when their way of handling that is by giving certain characters lots and lots of screen time while others are left to collect dust for months on end, that's a little weird. To summarize, the quote-unquote problem with Itto events isn't Itto himself or the fact that he's in a lot of them at all. It's that Hoyoverse puts him in a lot of events in a near row while also neglecting certain characters. It's a fair thing to criticize, and I really hope they improve on that. Also, I said I understand where both sides are coming from, but I also want to express my annoyance at how both sides react to each other. I already denounced people who criticize Itto and his events by way of being weirdly aggressive towards him and his fans, but I've also noticed a couple of Itto fans themselves who are super condescending towards people who criticize not even Itto himself, but the general event situation. Look, I get it. As someone with horrendous RSD who's also seen a lot of hate for her faves before, I know how terrible it feels and how easy it is to get defensive. But when your response to takes as mild as Hoyoverse needs to use their other characters more is stuff like, it's not their fault the other characters are boring and irrelevant, or you guys just complain too much and are allergic to fun, you might want to reflect a little. You can be happy about your fave getting a lot of screen time while also being considerate of people who want the same for theirs. It's not that hard. Also, slight tangent, but I've noticed this really annoying mindset some people have where they think a character needs to be super outgoing and bombastic, otherwise they quote-unquote have no personality. Like, characters such as Ayaka and Xiao get that accusation a lot, which is ridiculous to me because you could very easily describe them as calm, diligent, hardworking, kind, compassionate, and so much more, all of which are, gasp, personality traits! Seriously. Just because their personalities don't interest you doesn't mean they don't exist at all. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this. I honestly really like these shorter discussion/rants videos, so I might do more like this in the future. We'll see. Thank you guys once again for watching, and as always, liking, subscribing, and sharing this video are all greatly appreciated. I'll see you next time!